How do I speak English fluently? Simple, just practice more. Okay, thanks. But how do I actually practice speaking English? Well, that's a very good question. Let me show you and you a simple 3-step method you can follow right now. Many teachers, including me, tell students that to speak English fluently, they just need to practice more. But I know, right, many students don't have access to native English speakers or even other students to practice speaking English with. And even if they do have a speaking partner, they often don't know actually how to practice. Yet, knowing how to practice speaking English is a key skill you must know. Otherwise, you're going to spend hours and hours learning the vocabulary, learning the grammar, but if you're not practicing the right way, you will not improve your English speaking skills. And all of that time will be wasted. So that's why in this video, I will show you a simple and proven 3-step method, 1, 2, 3, to show you how to practice speaking English alone at home or even with a speaking partner. Now, I'm going to level with you. To level with you means to be honest with you. I didn't invent this, right? This is as old as the hills, at least in the language teaching field. But I will try and present it in a simple and interesting way, slightly different way, that will help you, will enable you to start practicing right away today and becoming a confident speaker of English. Let's get straight into that method. Okay, so here's the method. Step 1, tight practice. Step 2, loose practice. Step 3, free practice. What on earth do I mean? Let me try and show you. So I've got a piece of string, okay? Now, it can be tight or loose. When it's tight, right, I control the string. Tight practice is where we control the language. Loose practice, we don't control so much. We control a bit of the language, but not so much. Free practice, we don't control the language at all. We just let it flow. Let me show you more with some very specific examples so that you get it. Number 1, tight practice. Now you can do this on your own or with a partner. It's fine. In order to practice speaking English and to become more fluent, you need to be repeating the words you're learning lots of times, but also in different ways. That's the key thing. So when you've got sentences, we're going to make small but simple changes, but always using the target word or grammar. When I say target word, I mean the word you're learning or practicing, or the grammar. Okay, this is useful for both vocabulary and grammar practice. So let's imagine you're studying the topic of clothes and you've learned some new words, or maybe words you haven't completely learned yet, but you want to practice. So for example, I'll take some simple words like tie, short sleeve shirt, and trousers. Okay, so just to be clear, a tie, this is a tie, right? Got a tie here. Short sleeve shirt, it's a shirt with a short sleeve. This is a long sleeve shirt, but we've got here a short sleeved shirt. And of course, trousers. As if by magic, Keith has some clothes on his desk. Now, if you are a low level, at the beginning, the best thing is just to repeat. Practice by repeating, right? We have, for example, we talk about a tie. Yeah? A tie. A tie. But repeat and build. So build with common words that go with tie. Wear a tie. I am wearing a tie, for example, right? I'm wearing a tie. I like wearing a tie. I don't like wearing a tie. Can you see? So we're repeating and building simple sentences. Also, you can do, if we're looking at vocabulary, just add a verb. I blank a tie. And change the verb. I wear a tie. I want a tie. I need a tie. I have a tie. I have a blue tie. And then you can do negatives. I don't have a red tie. I don't want a red tie. I don't need a red tie. Okay? It's simple, just changing that one verb, doing negatives as well. That's for lower levels. As you move up, we can start to practice with different sentences. So we're going to practice. Let's take the word tie, and I'm just going to make a sentence. Maybe it's a sentence from the book or the podcast I've listened, wherever I'm studying, or just make up a sentence. And here's a tip. If you're not sure if your sentence is correct, just go into ChatGPT and type the sentence and ask it, him, her, if it's correct. 95% of the time, you'll get a good answer. So let's say I've got, I don't like wearing a tie. It's true, right? Because I've got a bit of a big Adam's apple. So I don't like wearing a tie. The first technique, and this is tight, right? This is the tight practice. So we've got control of that sentence. We're just going to add a word or two. You can add adjectives or adverbs. For example, I don't like wearing a tie. I don't like wearing a pink tie. Adding an adjective. I usually don't like wearing a tie. Adding an adverb. I don't like wearing a pink tie for work. I don't like wearing a pink tie for work because it looks too bright. Okay? Can you see what we're doing? We're repeating and repeating tie in context again and again, but we're making small changes. So the control, we're in control, but small changes. So that's the first technique. You can just add a word or two. The second one is to change a word or two, but keep the word tie or the vocabulary you're practicing. For example, I don't like wearing a tie. I don't like buying a tie. Or I don't like buying ties would be better, right? Because it's all ties. So just notice when you change words, you may have to change the grammar. I don't want to buy a tie. My brother doesn't want to buy a tie. My brother wants to buy a short-sleeved shirt. My brother likes buying short-sleeved shirts. Speaking generally. Can you see what's happening? So we've got that tight control, but we're changing one or two words. We're thinking because the grammar may change, like my brother doesn't, but we're practicing the word tie or short sleeve shirts. It's so simple. It really is so simple, right? So in short summary for this tight practice, you can either add a word or two or change a word or two. That's it. So simple. Now, can you do this with a speaking partner? Yes and no. To be honest, with a lot of the tight and controlled activities, it might be better to try them on your own because it's more flexible. And it depends on your level, right? With a speaking partner, if you are both the same level, you could try it. You probably want to make it into a bit of a game to do it and to practice that kind of activity. It can be done, and here's an example to show you. I sometimes wear blue shirts for work.
She sometimes wears blue shirts for work.
Good, and I'll try. She never wears blue shirts for work.
He never wears blue shirts for work.
He never wears white shirts for work.
He never wears pink shirts for work.
Mm. He never wears pink shirts for parties.
She never wears white shirts for work.
Okay, good, good. You changed two words there, but that's okay. Still fine.
Oh,
Now, if you want to see more examples or more techniques of this tight practice method, including some with grammar, then just download the PDF of today's lesson. You can get that in the description below. There are lots of different techniques for tight practice. In my online course, my gold course, IELTS Speaking Success, get a Band 7 Plus Gold, I use the Speaking Success system, which is based on lots of different ways to practice on your own. And students do it with a video of me helping them and guiding them. It's really good. It's a great course. The gold course is for students who are preparing for IELTS, want to develop their speaking skills in a fun way so that you can face the examiner with confidence and ace the IELTS speaking test. There's also quite a few students who are not preparing for IELTS, but just having a blast, having a whale of a time practicing and developing their English speaking skills. Okay, that's tight practice and a small advert, I know. Let's move on to number 2. Okay, moving on. Number 2, loose practice, right? Remember the string? I should call it the string method, shouldn't I? Tight practice, loose practice. We're still in control, but not so much. So here we're going to practice the new language, but in a slightly less controlled way. Okay. So here are some examples. Let's take the same topic of clothes. So we've got tie, short sleeve shirt, trousers, maybe a new verb like to sport. To sport just means to wear, but to wear something quite unusual, something distinctive, right? Like you can sport a fancy Italian tie. It's not Italian, but there you go. It's quite fancy. You could sport that. I like to sport. I don't like sporting ties. I don't like sporting Italian ties, not because they're Italian. I don't like wearing ties, but I am going to sport this fancy Italian tie. Anyway, that aside, what we're going to do is you take your notebook, a bit like this, you've got the words and you choose 4 or 5 words that you want to practice, and then you create the opportunity to practice. So you could, for example, try and tell a story with those words. You could make an audio recording, like an audio diary, trying to use those words, or even a video diary, trying to use those words. For example, right? Today I went to work and I saw my friend. He was wearing a new tie that he bought at the weekend. He told me he went shopping and he also bought a matching short sleeve shirt with some lovely new trousers. And he wants to sport the tie for his birthday party on Saturday. So I'm just practicing. It's kind of freer. It's controlled because I'm using these words and I must use these words, but it's a bit less controlled. Now, if you have a speaking partner, what you can do is you have these words and you just begin a conversation. Let's talk about clothes. And I try to include these words. Your partner could have different words on the topic of clothes that they're trying to include. And then you start talking. And it's great. As a fun tip is you could not tell your partner your words and see if at the end of the conversation you can guess what the other person's words were. You can see how naturally or how good they are at fitting them into the conversation. Here is an example for you. So you can begin.
Okay. What kinds of clothes do you like to wear?
I tend to wear very simple clothes. I don't like fashionable clothes. I just wear very plain clothes, generally speaking. And you?
I like sportswear because I go to the gym quite often. They are comfy and easy to wash.
Right. Do you wear sportswear at home as well?
Maybe when I run out of clothes to wear, I just put them on me. How
Right.
about you? Do you wear sports clothes?
I do wear sports clothes quite a lot. At home, I like to relax with kind of jogging trousers and maybe a t-shirt. Um, if it's cold, maybe a jacket. But generally, I wear, yeah, t-shirts and jogging trousers. Right. Good. I think that was a good conversation. Um, can you guess my word?
Based on the frequency, I would say generally, but it's a word relating to clothes. Maybe fashionable.
Nope.
Okay. Jogging trousers, t-shirts, simple, plain.
It was none of those.
I've got them all.
My word was actually jacket.
Jacket.
Yeah,
Okay.
at the very end. I'm going to guess
Yeah.
your word was sportswear.
Yeah, it's definitely the topic.
Okay, number 3 is that free practice. This is where you kind of go into the flow. So here, you don't have a sentence you're changing. You don't have a word list that you're trying to use. You just begin a conversation. You start talking about the topic, in this case, clothes, but you're not trying to use the words at all. Okay? You're just talking. You're talking and doing free practice. And this is really important. It's the kind of practice a lot of students don't do. They do the tight and the loose, but they don't do free. Language learning is not linear, right? You study a word, you practice, you review, it comes in your head. No, that's not how it works. Language learning is very, very messy, like the football player. Very, very messy. And you need to have this kind of cycle of learning, studying, practicing, reviewing. So it's really important you do the different kinds of practice. And the free practice is important because that's where you learn to react, to listen, to flow, and to focus on communication, not just the language. It's really important, right? Now, if you're doing this on your own, you can do the same. You can just practice making up a story, recording yourself as a diary or a video, either of those. If you're doing it with a partner, great. You have a free conversation on the topic of clothes, but you don't have to use the words, right? At all. I know it sounds strange, but that is really, really important. Great. Let's move on. So now you have a simple 3-step method to practice your speaking English skills, right? You've got tight practice, where you maybe add a word or two or change a word or two. Loose practice, where you've got your word list and you're just telling a story or you're having a conversation trying to use those words in the conversation. And then you've got the free practice, where you're free, you're in the flow, you're focusing on communicating. You're not even thinking about the words you want to practice. You can do these steps actually in any order, right? You can do them 1, 2, 3, that's great. Or you can mix them up. It doesn't really matter. Do what feels comfortable for you. That's it. Now you know how to practice an effective way, the right way, so that you can really learn deeply the vocabulary and the grammar you need to develop your speaking skills and become a confident speaker of English. Now then, I have 2 things. Number 1 is the PDF for this lesson. It's down in the link below. You can get that. Number 2 is an action step for you. I want you today to choose one topic and 3 words, 3 new words from that topic, and practice. Number 1, tight practice with those 3 words. That is your action step. In fact, tell me in the comments what the topic is you're going to practice and maybe the new words. And then later, let me know how it goes. Thank you for watching this. Please, if you've enjoyed it, do subscribe, turn on notifications to find out about new videos coming up. And if you want to practice the topic of clothes, go and watch this next video, which is a live lesson for free, all about the topic of clothes. It will give you some nice, juicy ideas. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.